We see so many designs out there when we are doing our research, but we have no idea which ones are good, which ones we should emulate, and which ones we should learn from. So I have a really, really cool video for you today. I'm really excited about this one. I'm going to be ranking a whole load of designs that I have researched. I'm going to be sharing with you the number of reviews they have. I'm going to be sharing with you the number of sales they have. And we are going to be looking at them on an individual level to see where they went wrong, where they went right, and where we can rank them. So this is what our ranking system looks like. We have bestsellers right at the top, and that's like God tier. We then have class, which is like just really, really good designs. We have a solid effort, and this is going to go for people that are getting sales. You can see the effort has been put in. They just kind of missed the mark a little bit. We then have poor effort, and this honestly is just people who have just not put in the effort. We have shite, which is, as it says, it is just a terrible design. No effort has been put in, and it's very obvious why they're getting no sales. And then we have winning rule breakers. This is kind of like the special category, and that's because a lot of the rules and guidelines and fundamental things that you want to follow when creating a design for print on demand, those can be broken. And if they're broken right, you can actually make a really solid design. So that's why we have this category for winning rule breakers. Cool. So before we just start, let me just quickly go over a very, very basic concept for you. I'm going to draw it out over here. Yep, that works perfectly. So I just want to quickly go over a very, very simple concept, which is when looking at a design, we want to look at the hierarchy of the design as a whole. So for example, the placement, let me just write this down. And the reason why I'm saying this now is because it's going to make the rest of the video really easy to follow. So placement is the most important thing, right? And underneath placement, we have phrase, we have graphic, and then we have font / color, right? And it's in like a little box, and placement encompasses the entire thing. And the reason why it's like this is the most important thing when it comes to design, more important than anything else, is the placement. You can have a crackingly good design, but if the placement is bad, it just won't sell. People won't want to wear it. It won't look good. Right now, if you can tick placement, right, if you can get the placement sorted and you've done that well, the next most important thing is phrase. And of course, not all designs have to have a phrase or a saying. Sometimes it can just be graphic. But if you have a phrase, it's really important that you get this phrase right. Then, of course, if you have a graphic, that becomes the next and most important. If you don't have a phrase, so let's say you don't have a phrase, graphic becomes the next, or the first most important thing after placement. Okay, and then once you've got a solid phrase, a solid graphic, the placement's perfect, you just need to make sure your font and color matches the overall vibe of the design. It matches the audience. It just follows all the things it needs to follow, okay? And we're going to go through that. So if you can get all these ticked, you are that one step closer to a best-selling design. Right, let's go through now. Let's start with the first one. Let me change my mouse around. Okay, so this is the first one, right? Let's zoom in on this. Silly goose on the loose. So I've got all my notes up here so that I can see. So silly goose, because there's a lot of numbers to remember here. Silly goose on the loose got 141 reviews, or has 141 reviews as of making this video, and it's done just over $14,000 in sales. So this is pretty good, right? This isn't a bestseller, but it's very, very good. So what do we think about this design? Well, firstly, let's just have a look at it as a whole, right? So placement. Let's go back to our pen. We've got our placement here, which is a nice rectangle, right? This looks really, really good, right? That's perfect. The silly goose on the loose, the phrase is brilliant. It's perfect. It's well researched. It's very intentional. The fact that you've got the goose here with the cowboy hat and the cowboy boots works perfectly. The stars add a little bit of touch to everything. And the fonts that they've gone for, the fact that they've used the word, they've gone for more of a script font for the word loose. It's really, really nice. And then on top of that, the silly goose on this is a very playful font. And you can tell from the, oh, it doesn't let me zoom in. Let me just zoom in. You can tell from the the curved edges that you've got going here. You can see these are nice curved edges, right? That gives off a much more friendly, playful vibe. So where does this live? Where does this t-shirt live? This design. This design lives... move it. Cool. I'm going to have to delete that in a second. This lives in the class category. It's not a bestseller, but it's definitely class. And I wouldn't say it's solid effort because they really have thought of everything. The only thing I might change is the spacing between the words, but they seem quite intentional. Let's just remove this stuff. Cool. Right. Next design. Let's have a look at what we've got going. All right, then. Let's make this a lot bigger and just do it that way. That makes more sense. Okay. So, being a functional adult every day seems a bit excessive. So, how did this design do? This design got 29 reviews and just over $1,900 in sales. So, I would put this design also in either solid effort or class. The truth is, the phrase is fine. The colors, they've gone for this retro sunset color, this vintage look with the distressed font, which is actually really, really nice. They obviously haven't gone for the actual retro sunset with the lines that you normally see, but they've done the lines through the colors. The colors all complement each other very nicely. They're like very light pastel colors. The only thing I'd like to see is it a bit bigger, right? I think the fact that this is, I think the fact that the words are so small, it makes it hard for it to be immediately recognizable, to be able to see it. And if we think of the highway test, the 2-second highway test, well, there's actually 2 rules we're going to talk about. The 2-second highway test, where you want to see a design within 2 seconds and immediately read it and get it, just like you're driving down a highway at 70 miles an hour and you see a big billboard. It's called the billboard test. You see the big billboard. You want to be able to read what's on that billboard just before you speed past it, right? And then the 6-foot test, which is another test that we look at in print on demand, is can it be seen clearly from 6 feet away? And I've zoomed in quite a lot here, but if we actually think about it, it could be like this big, really, maybe even smaller. If someone is scrolling on their phone, or they're looking on Etsy or Shopify or whatever the platform is on their phone, it could end up being a lot smaller. So I'm going to put this design, first I'm going to make it a lot smaller so that it fits. And then I'm going to put this design over in solid effort because it is a solid effort. Okay, the next design we've got here. This is, let's move this in. This has got 0 sales, 0 reviews. There's a lot wrong with this design, but the main element that's wrong with this design is just think about when you're doing print on demand, this giant square that we've got here, right? This is going to be one massive slab of ink put on a t-shirt. And the way that print on demand t-shirts are generally printed, this is going to make the shirt feel incredibly plasticky, which is not what people want. On top of that, who is the audience for the shirt? Is it someone that likes dogs? What is making someone buy this t-shirt? What's the emotion it's giving? Like, it's not really doing anything, because the person that's going to buy this t-shirt has to really own this dog, because it's not a phrase that's funny for all dog owners. It's a very specific dog, and it's a very specific dog, and if you don't own this dog, you're not going to wear a giant t-shirt with a big yellow blob on it. It just doesn't make sense, right? There's no reason to buy it. Maybe it could be a poster, but definitely not a t-shirt. So we're going to put this in the... Unfortunately, it's going in here. Actually, no, you know what? It's solid effort. If they would have added a phrase, got rid of the yellow background, it could have had some potential. All right, let's go for the next one. This is a similar t-shirt. Let's have a look. So this is what looks like to be some sort of boxing match picture, but to be honest, this is going straight in the shite category because I feel like there is no audience for this. This is very much like a t-shirt that you would find from Supreme and those kind of places. And the reason why they would sell is mainly because they've got the audience and they've got that hype brand to them. But if you're just listing this on Redbubble or TeePublic or your Shopify store with no audience, no like passionate fan base, it's very unlikely that you're going to sell these giant pictures. Okay, let's have a look at this one. Pluto, never forget 1930 to 2006. That's a very, very funny design. And this one actually did very well. This one's done over $50,000 in sales. So this is our first bestseller. This is going to go over bestseller. Now, if you're asking why isn't this in a winning rule breaker, because if you look at it, there's quite a lot of colors, right? And one of the rules that we try to stick to is 1 or 2 colors and then 1 font. However, that rule only applies to those designs that aren't retro or vintage sunset designs, and this is a clear vintage sunset style design, and they've done everything right. You know, they've even got like the color that's over here that you can see. It's the same color as the text over here, which is the same color as the moon. This red is a similar color to that. This word and these stars are all the same color to here. What a lot of people do here where they go wrong is they actually make the text white. So they have all the colors. They've got 1 color, 2 color, 3 color, 4 color, 5 color, and then they make it white. Now I know it looks white, but it's not. It's like an off-white here. And what people do is they make it stark white, similar to like this. This is white. You can see this one over here, right? So a lot of people do that, and it actually ruins vintage sunset designs. So what you want to do with a vintage sunset design is what this person's done, and they've matched the lightest color. They've matched the text to the lightest color on the sunset. So they've done a fantastic job here, and this is going to go in. It's going to be the first one for our bestseller category. So good job. Move this up here. Cool. We've got quite a few different ones going on at the moment. Let's have a look at what we've got next. Okay. Right, we've got this one. My favorite people call me grandpa. This one also is a best-selling design with over $50,000 in sales, 4,500 reviews. This is perfect. This is perfect from every angle. Now, what's even better is you can customize this and say my favorite people call me something else. And there are people that sell these t-shirts where you can change this word to be whatever you want. So favorite people call me Papa, favorite people call me Dad, favorite people call me whatever. And I love what they've done here in the sense that they've gone for this kind of grunge that you can see, right? And they've matched that grunge over here as well with the Cool Me. And I like that they've used the script font for Cool Me because it's, again, more playful. It's as if someone is saying it, and it kind of just makes it feel a little bit more put together. So like the placement is really nice. You've got this curve, this is straight, but all the letters are so curved, it kind of adds to it. And then you've got this block, right, which kind of encloses the entire design. And it's spot on. It makes so much sense that this design is a bestseller. So let's move this one up here. Cool. Right, let's remove this. Next one. What we got next? You can't scare me. I have 2 daughters. This is an absolutely incredible design. You're not even going to believe how much this design has made. This design has a cool feature to it, though. This design, actually, you can change this. You can't scare me. I have 1 son. I have 2 sons. I have 2 daughters. I have 1 daughter. I have 4 daughters. I have 3 kids. You can change this word over here, these 2 words, to be whatever you want, which makes this design applicable for basically everyone, which makes it so good, which is one of the reasons why it is going in the bestseller category, because this design has sold over $150,000 worth of t-shirts, which is just an astronomical number. $150,000. It's got over 17,000 reviews. It's actually mind-blowing at how popular, and this is the most popular t-shirt of the entire lot today. Okay, let's do this one next. Windsurfing girl, noun, like a normal girl but cooler. There's quite a lot wrong with this design, and this design is pretty much going to go in poor effort because the concept is good, but it could be so much better. For example, if you're going to go for a definition design, you know, the style, the definition style, you want to have, very simply put, the text over here, like you would see in a dictionary, the fact that it's a noun underneath, and you know, in this thing, right? And then you want to have the phrase on how it's meant to be said. You want to use the right font. I believe it's some form of Times New Roman font or something like that, right? You just need to make sure that you are following the trend, not making up a new trend. So by, let's get rid of some of this green. So the first mistake that they made was the placement is random. Like, what are these things doing here? Let's delete some things. So let's delete that. The font they've gone for is a very strange font, and the word girl is just massive, where you feel like you'd actually want windsurfing to be the main keyword here, not girl. So really, if I was to remake this, it would windsurfing girl, like that, right? It would have the noun like that, and then it would have the description like that, and it would be with the right font. So have a look at some of the best-selling definition designs, and you'll see exactly what I mean. Okay, let's move this one over to poor effort, because this is actually a solid design. The phrase is fine. It's a solid effort. It has a lot of potential. It's just they just missed the mark with the actual design element of it. Okay, let's get rid of all of this. Cool. Right then, let's go to the next thing. What's the next design? Let's have a look. So, no kings in America. I don't know where this phrase has come from. I don't know the phrase. It could be a popular phrase, so I'm not going to judge this based on its phrase. I'm going to judge this based on one particular thing, and that's the placement. Now, unfortunately, they were almost there. This placement for a design is brilliant. That's fine. That works great. The problem that they have done is that they've put the placement down here in this portion. You know, why have they done that? If you think about it, the actual t-shirt is like this, right? The printing space is like that, right? So if that's your printing space, why have you done it like that? You would want potentially a very small gap over here. A gap over here can be however big. A little gap over here and a little gap over here. So if we're thinking of a design like this shape, right, it would be more along the lines of like this, right? It would come up higher like that, right? This is very, very, very close over here to the belly button, and it's a little bit too far down the t-shirt. So please, when you are doing placement, make sure it works. If you have a look at, let's remove some of this stuff, right, so we can clean it up. If we have a look at what the chest would look like, right? So if we think of a person, right, their chest is going to come out like this, and then, you know, the abs are over here. You want to try and get this portion, right? This is your great printing area. That is where it needs to be. So this one is going to go in poor effort, because the design is not bad. I actually love the font. I love the crown. I love the where they, sorry, I love the way they've put it together. I just hate where they've placed it, and I don't think it would ever work because of where they've placed it. Okay, let's get rid of all of that, and let's go on the next one. Cool. All right, what we got next? Awesome, like my oldest daughter. Okay, so this one is so close. It's so close, although it doesn't have any sales. And if you're wondering, why does this not have sales, but you can't scare me, I have two daughters, does have a lot of sales. This is really, really niche. If you think about it, right? You can't scare me, I have two daughters. So two daughters is quite broad. A lot of people have two daughters. Awesome, like my oldest daughter, right? Anyone that has one child, this doesn't work, right? Anyone that doesn't want to wear a t-shirt that kind of shits on their younger daughter will not wear this. And any parent is not going to want to wear something that makes one of their children feel bad and one of their children feel uplifted. Why would people want to do that? Why would people want to hate on their own children? It makes no sense. So by saying awesome like my oldest daughter, it also reads my youngest daughter, or the daughters underneath my oldest, aren't awesome. You know, they're meh. They're okay. So I think you've completely missed the mark here. Now, on top of that, the reason why this design up here did so well is because it's it's a personalized design. You can choose whatever you want. So someone that only has one daughter or one son can change that, right? But at the end of the day, it works for everyone, and it doesn't make anyone look bad, right? Whereas here, you're making the rest of your children look bad. It doesn't really make sense. It's kind of missed the mark. So unfortunately, this isn't even going to go in poor effort. I'm just going to put this straight in the shite category. But I will say the font is fine, the placement is fine, and if you just got rid of, actually no, I'm going to put this in poor effort, because you know what? If you just got rid of that and you just had awesome like my daughter, so my daughter was over here, that'd be great. That'd be an awesome design, and it would probably get some sales. I can't work. Oh, sorry, no, it says can't work today. My arm is in a cast. This is brilliant. Everything about this design is brilliant, and this design has done over $100,000 in sales with over 9,000 reviews. So this design is just doing everything. This is a clear bestseller, right? And a couple of things to note with this design. They have got 2 fonts, right? The fonts pair brilliantly. So pairing tick. They've got 1 color, right? So they really understand design principles. They understand what to look for, and it just works, right? I love how my arm is in a cast is in a lowercase, but also in like a script font. It calms the design. It makes it easier to read versus the shouty can't work today, and then again in full uppercase, my arm is in a cast, right? It's a bit too much. It's a bit too heavy. Whereas this kind of subtly brings it down and makes it easier to look at. I love the fact that they've done grunge over here, and then the grunge in here. They've matched the grunge across the whole design, which is very nice. And then the fact that they've curved it round and they've brought this here. So it actually works in like a nice triangle, like a pizza shaped kind of design, which is brilliant placement. So because their placement is perfect, their phrase is beyond perfect, the graphic matches it perfectly as well, because obviously we're not talking about that kind of cast, we're talking about this kind of cast, and that's what we want people to realize. And then of course the font and the graphic, it just matches, and everything is perfect with this design. So this design is very much going to be a bestseller. Let's put you up here. There's a lot of bestsellers here. This is awesome. It goes to show that creating bestsellers is really possible. You know, it's not something impossible to do. Okay, let's go for the next design. All right, what's this one? Yuke, I am your father. No. Okay, so this is great. This one has done over $50,000 in sales, also a bestseller. And you might look at this and say, well, hang on, Shimmy, the placement's all over the place. This is not good. Like, what's this dead space here? This doesn't work. The reason why this is nice is because this is selling so well because of the nostalgia and the pop culture reference. If people don't know where this is from, I suggest going to watch Star Wars. But this is, Darth Vader telling Luke, I am your father, which is why it's nice that it says Yuke. It ticks every single box. It ticks every single box. And even though it slightly breaks the rules with the placement, it makes it feel a lot more like a comic book strip, right? And that's what people are trying to go for here. And if you have a look, the actual placement is still a great rectangle, right? The only difference is you've got this little bit of negative space here, but this negative space brings more impact to the design. The fact that this one here, let me change the color. The fact that this here, right, is center right in the middle is the first thing you see. You see this before you see the guitar. You see this before you see the no. You see it first. You read it, Yuke, I am your father, and immediately you know what that is referencing to, and then you want to investigate. You want to look more. You want to be like, Yuke, I am your father. What does that mean? And then you immediately see the ukulele after that. You see the guitar, and everything just matches up. And this is all happening in a split second in your brain, and it's just perfect. It's so intentional, and clearly the person who designed this knew what they were doing. So this is going to go in the bestseller category as well. Oh, it looks like a design got deleted from the bestseller category. And this one. I don't know where this went. I must have rubbed it out by mistake. Right, we have another one here. This is another huge bestseller. This one does so well. It's just, okay, so you're mixing kind of two audiences, but also not necessarily, because this is going for someone who likes drinking, likes wine, particularly wine. Doesn't matter what kind of wine. And that's because you can clearly see you've got the corkscrew here, right? My favorite workout is brilliant because you can just see the arms of the corkscrew are being lifted up as if it's a workout, but everyone knows that is just how you open the bottle. So anyone that is in this niche will immediately connect with this design. They'll immediately find it funny. They'll laugh. It will hit that emotion, which is brilliant. This particular design has sold over $70,000 worth. So this is more than a bestseller. This is a huge design. The only thing I would say, which is kind of interesting, is my favorite is very small, very hard to read. And my thinking for that is because this is sold on Etsy, where people aren't scrolling through Etsy on like a Facebook marketplace or something, or sorry, the Facebook newsfeed where things are a little bit smaller. The thumbnail on the mobile on Etsy and on the desktop is a little bit bigger, so it's probably more easily readable. And in all fairness, as soon as someone sees this, which stands out, let me make this fatter, right? When someone sees this and then they see the workout bit, so they see this 1 and then they see this 2, it immediately clicks. And then their eyes will go to my favorite and they'll think, okay, that's really funny. I want that, right? So they've made the corkscrew the biggest thing because it's the most important element. It's the thing that's going to catch the eye. It's the thing that's going to make people click, right? Click and then buy. That's the goal. So let's move this over to here. What's going on here? The Grill Father. So again, this is a great little throwback to anyone that's watched Godfather. They've got the font right. They've even got the hand right, except it's holding a spatula instead of holding the strings. So they've done all of that perfect. They've really understood who their audience is. A lot of people that go for these kind of designs will pick a different font, will pick a different hand. Sometimes they'll have hands coming in over here. Sometimes they'll just have like an entire, not even a hand, just a completely different graphic, which doesn't really work. So these people have clearly understood what the audience would want to see, and they've made it instantly recognizable. This has done just over $30,000. This is going to go under the class category. I wouldn't call this a bestseller. $30,000 is a lot of money, don't get me wrong. But I would say it's not a bestseller. I would say it's just a very good seller. Okay, what about this one? What feels wrong with this design? A, placement. Well, actually, placement's not so bad. It's a little bit too high over here, but it's not that bad, right? There's a lot else wrong with this design. The phrase. What is this phrase? Okay, so it's Kansas. Is this meant to speak to someone that lives in Kansas, someone that likes Kansas? What emotion is this hitting? How is someone resonating with this design when they see it? Does someone love Kansas this much that they'll buy a design that just says Kansas? So you've got to really think, is this design actually talking to my intended audience? And then you've got to think about the colors. So they've gone for one color, which is black. They've gone for this sandy line. Let me zoom in so I can show you. Right, so they've gone for this sandy line, which I assume is the shape of the state. And then they've gone for, so they've got 1 color, 2 color, 3 color. Oh, let me make this smaller. 3 color, 4 color, 5 color, and 6 color. So they've gone for 6 colors, which again is breaking the color rule. So far the placement's kind of okay, but the graphic, the phrase is like, what does that mean? The graphic, what is this circle, right? And then the font and the color. So the font is not the worst font, but the colors are terrible. So there's a couple things wrong with the color. Besides the fact that they've used 6 colors, and that's a big no-no, they've also gone for neon colors. So one thing you never want to put on a t-shirt is neon colors. If we have a look at the designs that have colors like this one, right, you can see it's very subtle, very pastel kind of colors. Likewise with this one, right? And then was there another one? Yeah, likewise with this yellow, right? With this design, they've gone for these super bright neon colors, which is a massive no-no in the world of print on demand. In fact, it's a massive no-no in the world of t-shirt design, period. You don't want neon colors. It looks so bad. So if you could go for more subtle colors, that could look a little bit better. But this design could easily turn into a retro vintage kind of sunset design, and maybe it could work. But for now, it just doesn't, like, it's like, what's going on, right? So I'm not ever going to put low effort for this, because it's just, there's no way of fixing this design. Like, what is going on here? This is going straight in the shite category. Oh, this design is epic. I love this design. So this design is so good. I love the art style. Again, no phrase. You don't need to have a phrase for a design to work. The placement is beyond perfect. So if we have a look at their placement, it's a perfect placement. Again, if we think about the chest, right, you can see it's just a perfect placement from edge to edge, from top to bottom. This speaks to anyone that likes camping, hiking, outdoors, bears, playing the guitar. It really resonates. Anyone that sits around, or anyone that has sat around a fire with a guitar or anything like that, will immediately resonate with this design. It will spark an emotion for them of, oh, do you remember that time that we did this? It was such a good moment. We sang all these lovely songs. It's a really good design, and it really speaks to the individual, which is why it does so well. And this particular design is a bestseller. This one has done over $50,000 in sales. It has over 500 reviews, so not many reviews, but $50,000 is no joke. So let's move this one up to the bestseller category. Okie dokie. Let's do this one. So this one was so close, so close. So this one would be classed as a solid effort. It's done over $5,000 in sales, so no small amount of money, but it could be more, right? And I feel like it could be more if you did two things. One is change the font, and two, change the weight of the elements. So change weight. And what do I mean by changing weight? I mean, so if you don't know chords, this is D, G, A, F, right? These are just the names of the chords. So someone that plays a guitar will know that, and it will resonate with them, and it will make them laugh, because sorry, I don't give a, right? So this speaks perfectly to a particular type of person, and I like it because it's also, you've got to be in the know to get the joke. You can walk around wearing this t-shirt, you know, let's say I bought this t-shirt as I play the guitar, right? So I understand what it's saying, right? And I wore this around my parents, who are not into flowery language, right? They don't play the guitar. They don't know chords. They don't know what is going on. So they would have no idea what's flying. They would just be like, what is that design? I'd be like, oh, it's just a joke, right? So that's why I like it. It's an in joke for people who play the guitar or people who know chords. And it makes the buyer feel like they're in this exclusive club, which is really cool. And it just hits the right thing, the right spot for that person. However, it's only done $5,000 in sales. To get it more sales, I would actually try and change it a little bit. So I would have the weight more like this, where it's so currently the weight is like this, with sorry being big. I would actually make sorry a little bit smaller, and then I would make the chords a little bit bigger, because someone reading this will immediately see that as don't give a, right? So they'll see it as, you know, in big, don't give a. And the sorry is like a second thought, right? Because you can wear a t-shirt that just says don't give a, right? Don't give an F, right? The sorry I is just an added bit to make you, to make the person wearing the design have a little bit more sass to their humor, right? So I don't think the sorry I should be not only the same size as this, but in this case, a little bit bigger. The weight of the text is a little bit thicker. So you can see the thickness of the actual letters is significantly thicker to the frets of the guitar. And it's not balancing out very nicely. So it's a really solid effort. And of course, it's got a load of sales. So it's going to go in the solid effort. But I feel like with a few tweaks, it could be so much better. Sorry, that's in poor. It's going to go here in solid. Right, let's get rid of all of this. Red Hot Silly Peppers. This is going to be our first winning rule breaker. Now, this design is fantastic. This has done $25,000 in sales. It's got over 100 reviews. And again, this is a lovely throwback to anyone that appreciates music, specifically the Red Hot Chili Peppers. It's just perfect, right? It's brilliant. I love the fact that they've gone for this kind of kiddie cartoon drawing style. It really helps, even though you're not going to get like a 6-year-old wearing this. It speaks to the niche. It speaks to the chilled out vibe of it, the style of music, the carefree nature of the band and the way they acted and all of it. So if you know the Red Hot Chili Peppers, this will resonate really, really well. So although this is particularly niche because it's not just music, it's a specific band, it speaks to a certain person, but as soon as that person sees it, they are much more likely to buy. So this is going to go under winning rule breakers. And the reason for that is because they've actually gone for a couple of things here. They've gone for a lot of colors. They've got 1 color, 2 color, 3 color, 4 color, 5 color. They've gone for quite a few colors. So they've broken the color rule. They've also gone for some bright colors. They're not neon bright, but you've got this yellow is quite bright. This red is a little bit bright, but it's not neon bright, right? So what they have done perfectly to the rules is they've got the placement, which is spot on, right? Placement tick, phrase tick, graphic, in my opinion, brilliant. And then the rules that they've broken are the colors, which is why they go under this specific category of winning rule breakers. But it's just a fantastic design, and I would recommend, if I wouldn't recommend anyone tries a design like this. I'd recommend if you are an expert designer with a lot of experience, a lot of sales under your belt, you know what you're doing, and you know exactly what your audience wants to see, then go for it. But I wouldn't start out this business trying to achieve these kind of designs because they're very, very hard to pull off. So where does this design fall? Let's have a look at it. So this is a fantastic design as well. This has done just over 30K in sales, 301 reviews. And this is a very, very popular scalable design. And the scalable element of this design is the fact that it's a heartbeat. So we all know the heartbeat, right? This is a very, very scalable design. I have sold hundreds and hundreds of designs, not with the fishing guy, but I've sold it with someone climbing, with someone cycling, with someone running. So imagine you had someone hanging off the edge here, like a person, that's a terrible drawing, like just rappelling or climbing. Or imagine instead of a person, you had a bike with a guy on the bike. Or imagine you had someone running, and it all works along the same thing, the same heartbeat. It's just a really, 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 really good design. The only thing that I find a little bit odd is I don't think you need these. I've never done it with these boxes, right? These ones over here. I just don't think it's necessary because that's not what it would look like. It would then continue the line, right? That's how it would go, and it would just continue. So I don't think it needs that. But I mean, other than that, this is a pretty solid design. The placement is perfect as well. You can see where they've placed it. So if this is the chest, they've placed it perfectly on along the chest. So a rule of thumb here is if you have a design that is, let's make a little box. If you have a design that is like a long rectangle, you want it to be further up, like this. And if you have a design that is like a portrait kind of rectangle, you want it to be more like this. This is how you want your placement to go when it comes to a t-shirt. That's why you've got more space over here and over here for this particular design. So where would this design go? Well, this design is going to go in the class category because this design is brilliant. I think it's great and it sells amazingly. I wouldn't class this as a bestseller because I don't think it's a bestseller. It doesn't get enough sales to be classed as a bestseller, but it's definitely in the class category. So this is how you have it. I know I've deleted for some reason by mistake. I deleted this one and this one, but this is how it is. This is what it looks like. Hopefully, from this kind of breakdown, you didn't just learn about where designs get placed in these kind of categories, but you also hopefully learn why they got placed in these categories, not just because of their sales, but these designs were intentionally made, especially the ones in the bestseller and even the ones in class. They were intentionally made for the audience. Everything was thoroughly thought about: the font, the phrase, the placement, the graphic, the colors, the combination of everything, the type of font they did for the type of audience. Like every aspect of the design was intentionally thought about, which is why they ended up here. The solid effort, as I said, like it's really good. They're getting sales, but if they change a few things, they could definitely get more sales. The poor effort is just, if you put a little bit more effort into your design, it could do a lot better. And this one should kind of be in, well, no, everything else about this design is pretty good. It's just if you remove the word oldest, it would be really, really good and it would do a lot better. And then, of course, I put this in the shite category because it is just really, really bad. This is what it looks like. And when you are creating designs, just the biggest takeaway from this video is just make sure that you are creating designs very intentionally for the audience that are going to buy it. And if you kind of feel like you don't know what you're doing with designs, or other elements of your funnel is broken, whether it's your niche or your store, definitely consider checking out the Design Hub, which is a community I made. It's an absolutely fantastic, awesome, amazing community that I'm spending all my time in. I consolidated, because I had a few communities, I've now consolidated all my time and effort into this one Design Hub community where we do 4 to 5 live calls a week. We do personalized feedback. We have tons of training, some of the most detailed training on building a store, creating designs, and picking a niche and all that stuff. So definitely go check it out. The link will be down below. And hopefully I could do these kind of critiques, more in-depth critiques on your particular design, so you can see where you are going wrong and how you can improve and how you can start creating some of these awesome best-selling designs, because that is what we want at the end of the day. Anyway, the link for that is down below. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.